Welcome to Look, Listen, Laugh. Now, I'm excited to have my guest this episode. He's a household name in comedy throughout Australia and the UK. You will have seen him in numerous TV appearances, in fact, too many to mention. He's feature films that he's written and starred in, and he's been at the top of the game for over 30 years. I've known him since I was a teenager. I'm excited now to sit down and have a chat with my friend, Jimeoin. Jimeoin, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure seeing you. You know, whenever we run into each other, I'm always like, there he is.
Good to hear.
It's
always weird starting these things, isn't it?
It is. How do you begin?
How do you begin? I've just been watching you set up all the cameras, and then you go, Jimeoin, I've been sitting
I'm
here.
on. I'm just having a nap.
Well done. I like the way you get set all the cameras up and you've got the lights all going.
Yeah.
Very efficient.
I figured when I did this podcast, if I'm going to do it, just do it right. Mm-hmm. But I had it in my mind for years. It's like one of those things you think, I'll get around to doing it at some point, but then it turns into.
Are you enjoying doing it? Many have you done of these so far?
Jeez, I think this might be like the 12th one.
Right.
Yeah, this is going to be like the Christmas one.
Right. You do one a week?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Because, you film it, you edit it, you research it too. It's not just like, we have a conversation, but, we find out about what your favourite album, film and book is. So I don't want to come into it all, like
I'm doing a podcast as well, but I always resisted doing a podcast because I just thought everyone's doing a podcast. And then I thought, who cares if anyone watches it or listens to it? It's just a good thing to do. It's a great thing that you can do. Like you used to have to go and ask permission to do something. Now you can just do something.
Right.
So that side of it I really enjoy. And some people really hit the mark. It's just one of those things. I did one in the UK, and there's a couple of comics that do it and have a word, it's called, and they've really found an audience just from doing the podcast.
Sure.
And so many other comics as well have just found an audience. So it's a great thing to be able to just go and do something as opposed to having to ask to do it.
Yes, yeah. But you've always done that though. You've never waited for permission.
Yeah, no.
You've always like I look at your career right from the get-go. It's like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, but you always
just jump in.
You always have to try and sort of. I'd love to just do. Now it's so much better because, you'd always have to make some sort of compromise to get it up there, and whereas if you could just through doing stand up, you can just sort of do it, and then if it doesn't work, hey ho, move on.
Yeah, sure.
TV was so much more expensive, but now look at this.
Just do it.
Three cameras, and it's all happening.
But I think you made a good point too. It's like it's something that you want to do. This is something that I've been wanting to do, and I enjoy doing it. If I didn't enjoy doing this, I wouldn't bother doing it. I wouldn't I love sitting down and chatting with people that I admire and respect.
But if somebody told you didn't respect, this is what you need to do, and this is how you need to do it. Take the fun out of it.
Yeah, totally. And also too, like I chat with people that I genuinely like and are interested in, so it makes it very easy for me because I'm genuinely,
And then you couldn't get anyone this week, so hey.
But when you started out, though, I'm always fascinated by the story when you started doing comedy, right? Because you were a builder first.
Yep. And I was just kind of young first.
Yeah.
I hadn't really got into doing anything for too long.
Right.
I went to college to study construction, but I could have fallen into any path really. That wasn't set in stone what I was going to do. But yeah, when I came out here on a year's working visa, which you call yourself a backpacker.
Right.
But I didn't do a lot of backpacking. Thank God for comedy because I finally got to see the country through comedy. But when I first came here, I worked on a building site.
I remember years ago when we were doing the show, you brought me in to do the full Brazilian with you.
Yeah.
And we were driving on the way to SBS. And across the road from you, I worked on that building site. That was back in the 90s.
What is that suburb called?
Artarmon.
Artarmon Arterial Dump is what it was.
Right.
And I worked on that for a good 8 months.
Yeah.
Doing the form work. I clearly remember one day, because you have to work Saturdays. You always have to work Saturday. And you don't normally Monday to Friday you have a smoko and then lunch break.
Right.
But on a Saturday they don't. You go straight through to midday and then midday to. So, and then the structure of it seems really long.
Right,
oh
right.
my God, this takes forever. And then I thought, well, I'll put all these frames up, and it's 1:30 now. When I get all those frames up and those headers up, and then that'll be 3:30, and did it all, and got it all up, getting into it, and look, freaking quarter to one, like, I don't know, what, 15 minutes? No way! Time seemed to have stopped. It was such freaking hard work.
Yeah, as opposed to time on stage, which
yeah. Or anything, freaking anything that you're enjoying doing, time flies by, but if you're not, it's just
relentless.
A minute is an eternity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I worked on that job and, a few other jobs. I did one job in Sydney. Oh, the same frigging job. We got rained off at, we got there at 7 and it was raining, so and then it stopped raining at 9 o'clock, but they had this safety walk and squeegee the decks down, and so we were going to wait there. So 10:30, go to work. So we got 10:30. 11:30, it was 34 degrees.
Oh,
down
no.
tools.
Oh no!
So we went back to this guy's house, and we were, so we got a couple of slabs of beer, and smoking those big bongs. I'd never had they had these bucket bongs.
Oh yeah.
And I couldn't even do one. Anyway, 12 o'clock, I got on a train from North Sydney to go to Bondi. I had to change at Wynyard, Town Hall.
Yep.
And I was leaning out when I was going over the bridge. I was leaning because the doors of the train was open. I was just trying to stay awake. Got to Wynyard, and I'd just get to Town Hall, stay awake for that length, and then get on a train to Bondi. I'd get off. Someone would wake me up, and I fell asleep. Woke up Parramatta. And then I had to sit in that train because that was a train back in again, because that was the end of the line. I woke up at Hurstville, so I'd gone all the way to Central, and then gone all the way to Hurstville, and then got back in, fell asleep again at Central. Someone woke me up, and
on a stinking hot day like
that. But I'd slept all day, so that was on a Friday. We got rained off. I had to go to work on a Saturday, and I got home. I had to get a taxi from Central to Bondi, and then I couldn't get to sleep that night because I'd been sleeping the whole day, and I just lay awake all night and turned up for work the next day, and I was knackered again.
That was in the old days too, when you didn't have the air conditioning. Because what you were explaining then, I think, was like the old Red Rattlers, the old trains back in the 90s, and that you used to have to,
the trains are quite unique here too. Like, we don't get those trains in Ireland or in the UK. Those double level trains.
Oh yeah, the new ones.
You've been to America. Do they have them?
No, not in New York. I don't remember them. Yeah.
Your buses here are the exact same buses as we get in Ireland.
Oh really?
Yeah, that was the first thing I noticed.
The same manufacturer.
Blue and white.
Yeah. But the same make, like the Mercedes.
Exact same bus. What the freaking hell's the Ulster bus doing here?
Well, yeah, we had the double-decker buses, like back in the 70s, 60s and 70s. They had the double-decker, like the London buses. But they weren't red though. I think they were like green and white or something.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe
we had a joke in Ireland. You could probably do it here. What's blue and white? Wears a tartan scarf. Rupert the Ulster bus. Rupert. Anyway, you could probably do that. Rupert the Sydney bus. You could. I'll try and work that into my act. Sorry.
Yeah, well, get the notepad.
Yeah.
Or the iPhone as we use nowadays.
I've got a new book. I'm really happy with it.
Oh, nice. Is that for all the comedic ideas to write? I like that you got a book to write it down. I used to always carry a moleskin in my pocket.
They're too expensive.
I didn't know the little ones that like that.
Yeah, but they're too. This is good because you can get refills for this, and it's just a pouch. And I'm obsessed with books.
But it's good to actually physically write it too, I think.
Oh, totally. I have to always. Like I tape ideas in my phone, but before a gig, like if I sit down just for even 15 minutes, I can go through those ideas for the day and then just write them down and then see if I can put them in somewhere.
Crowbar it in somewhere. But you got a great technique with the.
Yeah, well, I bring the book out.
You bring it out,
nice
and then you go through it, and it sets the audience. Oh, we're watching something here that's not.
It does.
Not part of the act. This is some new stuff, and the little ticks that you do on it, and this is all the added little extras that you put onto it.
It's a great device because you've got like an insurance policy against the joke not working.
Yes.
And then you can go, and that's a really good way for me to just always do a part of the show where I'm going to try something new tonight.
Right.
And I'm telling you, so if it's shit, then
you've
been warned.
Free card. So after working on the sites, at what point did you go, right, I'm going to jump in the deep end here and get up on stage and do stand-up?
I started doing stand-up because when I came here, I was only hanging out with Irish people. So it was a really good way of. When I first did it was just a joke, like just for a laugh. I got up and told 3 jokes, but then I watched the rest of the night and I saw Akmal, and Peter Fox, and Peter Burner.
Yeah,
it was a night of Peters because Akmal was called Peter
then. Yeah, the 3 Peters.
Yeah, so it was
the 3 Pete.
Yeah, Ross Daniels was.
Ross Daniels.
Annette Law. Was she was going out with a friend of mine, and that's why we went along to that night.
So where was that? The Harold Park?
Yep, the Harold Park. And she put my name down, and I got up and told jokes because I didn't know what stand-up was. I knew who Billy Connolly was.
Yeah.
I knew who Dave Allen was and Tommy Cooper, but I didn't know that there was like a scene where you go along as a night out, and there was anyone, and you meeting people for the first time. So really naive, told jokes. Started telling a joke, and people started laughing at the fact I was telling a joke. But because they started laughing, I thought they knew the joke. And I went, all right, oh, you know that one? Do you know that one? Oh, right, okay, all right, here's another one. And then they thought that was funny because, they thought that was my act. But it was genuinely, which is often the way. You write stuff and then it doesn't get a laugh. Then you say something off the cuff. Oh. Yeah, you just can't pick them. Anyway, it was a great night, and I met a whole new group of people, and then I met like-minded people.
Yes.
I go, these are my people.
Yes.
Like, you're trying to find people in your life, like
you don't feel a part of a club or anything, but then you find this.
Yeah, like I was on a building site, and I go, these aren't my people. And then I was trying to, I go, maybe I would try and get in a band or something. Maybe I could try and find a way of not having to work in life, and then try to get up. And then I go, they're not my people. And then as soon as I started doing stand-up, these are my people. And to this day, I feel that. I've made a couple of films, met all those people, and then went, these aren't my people. But when I did stand-up, I felt, all right, we're all on the same page here.
And also, too, I imagine Akmal would have been encouraging.
Yeah, Akmal and Haskell.
Daniels,
God rest him. Yeah, Haskell was another person that, and I brought them into the Irish group of people, so that was just a really, and that was all I was thinking I was getting from it, like a hobby, and that's the way I thought of it. And then I got asked to do Melbourne Comedy Festival or the Comedy Club, and I lied in order to get into it. And
now, was this the one? Was this when it was at the Hilton?
Yeah. And so to do 3 weeks supporting Jeff Stilson.
Oh yeah.
There's a poster of him up here somewhere. And I had 3 weeks owing to me, and I went down, did it, and then they asked me to do another 4 weeks. And
just to go back to that, was this when the lady said to you, I vaguely remember you telling me many years ago how she's like, oh, you had only done like open mics or something, and she'd go, have you got material? And I'm like, yeah, sure I do.
Yeah, it was the first time I got booked to do a half spot, and I got paid $60, and I opened a separate deposit account so I could keep an eye on what I'd earned from doing this as opposed to what I'd earned on the building site, and just keep it, not touch it as a holiday money. And those accounts you get wee book.
And
so she said to me on that night, and it was a really good gig. she goes, I booked the Melbourne Comedy Club. We're looking for supports. How long have you been doing stand-up for? Like, and of course, I've just said 5 years. And she said, all right, then she sent me some proof of what you've done. So I was living with Bob Franklin around the corner from Bob. And Bob had been doing 5 years. That's probably where I got the idea of having done it for 5 years. So he had been doing stand-up for 5 years. And he had all this proof of, like, in the paper, you know,
quotes
like quotes, like on the
references.
bill. Paul Merton, you know, Bing Hitler, which is Craig Ferguson's character. Paul Merton, I remember those two. Bob Franklin, right? So I said, freaking lend me those. So I photocopied them, so and then
you're like counterfeiting little.
Tipexed his name out, and then, you know, waited for it to dry, of course, and then typed my name over it, and then faxed it to her. And, you know, by the time
degrading in quality.
The time it got as a fax to her, there was no way going to pick that it was Tipex, and
that's hilarious.
And she goes, "Oh, fantastic! You worked with Paul Merton, you worked with Craig Ferguson. That's fantastic." She booked me for 3 weeks, and Bob came with me.
Oh, fantastic!
So I said to Bob, "Come down." So we came down for 3 weeks, and went back to work. And then they asked me to do 4 weeks. And the reason I'm telling you this is because this is how I really started doing comedy. Was the construction industry kind of came to a halt. Interest rates went from 6% to 18%.
Right. So this was late 80s, early 90s.
89, 1990.
Yes.
And I said, they've asked me to do this. And Chris, the guy at work, he goes to me, if I was you, I would take it, Jimeoin, because when this job finishes, which is number 2 Market Street in Sydney, he goes, we don't have a job for you, so we're going to have to let you go at the end of that job, which is in April, which is when they've asked you. So you may as well do it. I don't know if I would have jumped, given my job up so quickly, but I knew that I was, you know, being let go in a very nice way. And I went, ooh, and then the whole construction industry was grinding to a halt. And I was like, right. So I just sold my tools to a friend of mine, and we got the train down. Bob and I got the train down again, and we moved into the pub in South Melbourne.
That was the move to Melbourne to go, right, this is...
and a friend of mine had a pub in Melbourne called the Star and Garter, which really wasn't doing well. It was a villain's pub, and there was a room upstairs, so Bob and I, you know, slept on the floor in these sleeping bags. And I said, I'll start a comedy night for you. So that was the start of my... And there was so much going on in Melbourne at the time. There was like the comedy company, so I got a job writing on that.
Oh, great. And the comedy company then was huge.
On
TV.
So that was like a wage, and then there was a little joke and the last laugh, and you know, and then I got to do 10 weeks supporting the phones at the last laugh, which is a ridiculous amount of flying hours in your first...
Of course, 10 weeks.
First 6 months of your, like, it's all about flying hours. So
I got getting the flight hours down.
So I had the flying hours of doing 3 or 4 years in the first 6 months, which was great.
Yeah, and then you had the opportunity to do Vizard.
Yes,
But out of the gates, right? That was really early on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then then you hosted it, didn't you?
But the first one was the big gig.
Right.
Ernie and Denise was the first TV I'd ever done.
That's right. The talk show.
Good on Denise. Like we were sitting. I did a stand-up spot to no audience, and you know, and then they came and asked me to join them, and I thought they were still taping, you know, like, and she was just playing a joke on me, like.
Oh, really?
How you going, you little F&C, you? I was like, I don't know where to look, and they all pissed themselves laughing. They're all, and I was like, oh wow, actually, I was like so nervous doing TV for the first time, and then they were going, come back. So you're doing a stand-up spot to no audience. And then I went from that to doing the midday show, which was like just unbelievable death, the midday show.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, no one would do it, like, because like
Or it's just such a hard
it's
crowd.
just a hard gig. I used to have this joke where they wouldn't laugh, they used to knit, and then when you get to the punchline of the joke, they just knit a bit quicker. That was it, you know. But Jeff Harvey, the guy,
Musical director.
yeah, and the band, you could always hear them laughing.
Yeah.
But that was all you get, like.
Wow.
And
just feed off of that.
you would, and also, you started to realize this is it. That you're not going to get anything from the audience. You just got to go down the barrel and just do the jokes, and you might get from Jeff Harvey, but you have to just.
Did anyone give you a heads up about that before you went on the show, or did you realize it on camera, like, this is death?
No. But the first time I did it, this is in the time of Kerry Packer.
Yes.
You weren't allowed to drink on the network, and the first time I did it, Ray Martin was hosting it, and we go back to his room, and they had a plastic bag with a couple of cans of beers, and they could come on, and it was like that Ernie and Denise. It was just such a beautiful, relaxed friendship.
Yeah.
That it just
made you feel welcome.
Make you feel welcome, and you change your attitude towards TV, and you're like, oh wow, this is just, we're just having a laugh here, we're just taking the piss, and it was like just that group of people really made it easy for me, and then from the big gig, from midday I got on the big gig, and from the big gig, Tonight Live, and as you're saying, I was just on it 2 or 3 times. And then they go, do you want to host it? And I was like, wow, this is way out of my depth. All my nerves were fried on that particular occasion. But, I did it, and it was, it was kind of bizarre, a young point in your career.
Sure, to have that meteoric rise.
Yeah. Like maybe 24.
It's incredible.
And you're like,
so how long had you been doing stand-up at that point?
A couple of years.
So 2 years, and you were hosting the Tonight Live.
No, yeah, something like that,
wow. Yeah, it's incredible. And then you were given your own show.
Yeah.
The Jimeoin show,
but
which was huge.
I'm not sure, but I'm never really sure of timelines or anything, because I said to Bob, because the Star and Garter pub ended up becoming the Comics Lounge, because the people that bought the Star and Garter last, because any time they sold the Star and Garter, they would sell the comedy night, and they would sell Bob and me with the show.
Oh, right.
So they go, the sale only goes through if you continue the comedy night. And we were more than willing to do that. And we went, yeah, that's fine. So we went through 3 or 4 different people, but the last group of people that ran it, that bought it, ended up moved to the Comics Lounge. So I always felt the Comics Lounge was part of the Star and Garter. So I said to Bob, we should do the 30th year of the Star and Garter.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, Jimmy, that ship sailed. That's 2 years ago. But that's what it was. COVID. That's what COVID threw me up.
During that, yeah. Well, everything since COVID. Like
I'm 2 years younger than what I am because of COVID. Like I'm 57. I'm telling people I'm 55.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel. I think I'm 26, to be honest.
So after that, then after you had your own TV show, then it was just like you were out on the road doing your own shows. You didn't have to worry about playing clubs. Like that's when the touring began, right?
Yeah.
And from that, you've never looked back.
Yeah. It's hard telling you some of the stuff because you know most of the stuff.
I'm prompting you to tell me things I already know.
I'm looking at you going, you know your story, Joe.
We know this whole shit. But then the great thing is, because in the 90s, like, your popularity is untouchable. Like, you were like the first, from Australian comedy scene to be pulling those kind of numbers, like packing out theatres.
Or even just doing stand-up. Like, stand-up now is like an option for a night out for a lot of people. People go, but then, people never, you'd see people, they go, that's the first time I've ever seen stand-up comedy.
Yeah, sure. And especially to the extent to the places that you were taking it to. Like Billy Connolly had come out, he'd done the major cities, a few regional things, but taking it to, the Empire Theatre in Toowoomba.
Yeah. Well, the only people on the road were Billy Connolly, Rodney Rood, Kevin Bloody Wilson, and me. That was it. That was so there was no problem getting the theatre. Like now, you got to book a theatre.
Yeah. Way in advance.
A year out at least, because there's so many comics that can fill those rooms. But back then, You know, all you do, you phone up and go. You could phone up 2 or 3 weeks beforehand and go, "Can I come?" And they, you know, because that's like then you did posters,
Right.
and you did TV ads, and you did something in the paper. Now it's Facebook and everything's
Yeah.
long time out. But yeah, there was not a lot of people. There was nobody on the road.
Because you took Akmal on the road to be a support act, and I remember him telling me when you were in Toowoomba and you're in the hotel lobby and you ran into was it like the Little River Band or something, and they were performing that weekend in Toowoomba, and they're like, "Oh, where are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, I'm doing the Empire Theatre." Empire Theatre, that's like whatever it is, 1,200 or something. It's huge. And they're like, yeah. He goes, how are the numbers? And he goes, yeah, we've sold out. You sold out the Empire? And yeah, twice. We've got to get to the first show.
Yeah, it was great. It was ridiculous.
Huge.
There was another time we were on tour. We were in Sydney doing all the clubs, and you go on early to stand up. This is what we do. We go on. Show starts at 7:30. Support break. Headliner. It's all done and dusted at 9:30.
Yeah.
And you're coming back. So we were doing it, and we were staying in the same hotel as Boom Crash Opera, and every time we pull into the car park and they lifted up, we dump our shit, like to go out somewhere, and this happened for a week.
Just we right crossing paths.
Yeah, and they were heading out with a massive entourage, and I would go, "We're finished," and they go, "What? No, we haven't even gone. We got to go on stage now." They wouldn't get on stage till 11:30. I go, "Freaking, we're in the thick of it at 11:30."
Well, that's, like you were saying before, you just got back from Perth doing Her Majesty's Theatre.
Yeah.
You had 2 shows in the one night, well, one day and night, a 2 p.m. show, and then the 7:30 or 8 o'clock show. That's incredible.
I was in bed before the Wiggles. The Wiggles are the ones that used to really annoy me. Like, they would do 3 shows and they'd be done and dusted at freaking 7 o'clock.
Yeah. And their numbers too.
Oh my God! And the money they make, and then friggin' 7:30. Let's go for dinner somewhere.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I remember hearing about in the States, like they did Madison Square Garden, and did something like 11 shows there or something. It was like nuts.
Yeah.
But it's
those bastards.
But it's great for you to have the longevity that you've had too. Like
I can't believe that.
We're talking 90s here that you were packing out theatres. We're now we're over 33 years later, and you're still doing it.
Yeah.
Like that's a but that's a rarity in this business to have that kind of staying power. You know.
No, it's been really good. It's been great and I've gone to the UK. I started doing the UK about 15 years ago. Like
I remember when you started over there. I remember you saying, "I'm gonna go over to the UK and just put my foot in the water and start building an audience there."
Well, my parents were getting old. I was getting older, and I thought I'll regret this if I don't see. I just want to see how it works. And
but the great thing in doing that is you already had a plethora of material up your sleeve. Going over. It wasn't like you were going over there as a novice. It's like, no, you had multiple tours already ready to roll.
Yeah, but there's like Jeff Harvey we were talking about in the midday show. When I first went on that, he said to me, you could have a career like Dave Allen's. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he goes, Dave Allen lived in Australia. He was a big... No, I didn't know any of this.
Oh, really?
He was a big star. He toured here. He had his own TV show.
Yeah.
And then he said, I'm going to go there.
Right.
And she goes, you're mad. This is all working for you. Why would you even bother doing that? And he goes, I just need to know. And he went back and did the exact same TV show they'd done here, just re-recorded it again, and became a big star in the UK. But I had no idea that he had brought up a family, was married, and lived in Australia.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Huh. So you figured if Dave Allen's doing it, that I can take it back there.
I don't know if it did, but I was quite surprised to hear that about Dave Allen. I thought, he was a big icon in the part of the world I grew up in for being Irish. I had no idea that he had a history in Australia. Yeah, I suppose in a lot of ways. Like I tour in the UK now, and I never mention Australia, the fact that I live here, or I've lived here for a long time. But I kind of just, it was good because it was hard work. It was just going there, head down, doing like always in winter. You have to go in winter because summer's it doesn't get dark till maybe 10 o'clock at night, so you cannot get people. Can't get people into the theater, so you always had to go there at a miserable time of year. And I went from getting good crowds to just trying to build up a crowd.
Right.
I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're doing London Palladium, you're doing these major theatres over there.
And as well as that, it gave me a resurgence in my sort of love of stand-up again.
Yeah.
I felt,
you got that new challenge.
To
build it again. Yeah.
Yeah, Star Trek, to boldly go where no comic has gone before. But a lot of the times when you're touring Australia, you were going to places that were
right,
way out there.
You would never normally visit.
Yeah. I did this tour where it was over the top, over the top of Australia, from Broome to Cairns, all those places.
That was the documentary you filmed.
Yeah. And it was like amazing to see. Like, I wonder how many jokes I've really got, and you had to really. Like I had to change my style. Like I had to come out and really try and win the night over. So it was good.
It's a great challenge. It's good. I often find it's good to be out of your comfort zone to reignite.
Always.
Supposed to just I got this.
Well, I did it. I did a couple of tours years before I had the UK. So I did maybe 80 gigs in a row from September through to December, and every night, on average, I had 5 people a night.
Wow.
And that was really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then I went, I can't do this. And then about 10 years later, I got to do this again.
Right. So after that run, you were
I just was broken.
I got to pull out,
I did it, and every night there would be you'd end up doing the gig in the foyer because they would be over there, and you could just get them on the steps, try and make it into a bit of a laugh. There's no one in the theatre.
Yeah.
And then you go back and you go, wow, this is really hard.
Especially when you're by yourself in a place like.
No, I had a friend with me, Wesley, God rest him. Another guy passed away, Wesley Muffet. Yeah, so he came with me.
Right.
And but the two of us were like, wow, this is grim. And then we went to. So there was one Friday we had it off. And we were in London, so we thought, well, let's go to a nightclub. And so we really, we got to a nightclub around about 8:30, went to a pub for a couple of drinks, and there's those, those big lines that you got, but there was nobody in the lines because we were the first people to the nightclub. Right. So we weaved all, like at an airport, all the way, I guess, here to the door where the bouncer was standing, and we got to the door, we're all dressed up, and he goes, not tonight, boys. And that was our night off in the midst of doing friggin' 80 gigs to nobody. 5 people a night. What was that? Friggin' 400 over 80 gigs. Oh, God.
But it's great that you went back again, 10 years later, go, no, I'm not finished with this.
Yeah.
And now that's great. You have, 2 major continents to go to tour. It's.
It's just, like in a band, you couldn't get away with that. There's no way.
No.
You could get, stand-up's great for that, you're on early. Mm-hmm. You don't have to divvy the money up between
minimum overheads. Yeah.
You don't go into all those arguments, stupid arguments, like Oasis or all those freaking people go on through, falling out with each other. Sure. All the bands fall out with each other.
None of that to worry about.
You can.
No Stuart Copeland.
Yeah. And you can start your career late, and you can still go late. Yeah.
But speaking
of God, I never got in that band.
Speaking of...
And you're only limited to talk about I love you, you love me, we love each other, or heavy politics that's too over the top. It's very limited art form in its ability to...
But the great thing is you can live that dream of being in a band in your show because you get out the guitar, you got the lip pedal, and then you can take the piss out of all of that, the political or the love story or within the...
I do like music. I think there's loads of comedians that want to be musicians. There's loads of musicians that would love to do stand-up.
Right. Yeah, it's true. That's very true. But I was just going to say, in terms of getting out of the comfort zone, when we did that show together, the Full Brazilian, that was like Talk about being out of the comfort zone. That was you just jumped in head first.
Well, they gave me the gig, and
it was for the World Cup.
It was for the World Cup.
2014 World Cup. SBS. We did. Was it like 25 shows or something?
Yeah, 25
live shows
in a row, or something like that. 23 in a row. And
a couple nights off.
And then they moved into the semi-finals, the quarterfinals. But in the group stages,
it was relentless.
And then the other stage, it was every night.
Yeah.
And I got offered the gig, so I couldn't. Like, I would never have auditioned for it. And if I had an audition for it, I would never have got it. I was way out of my comfort zone, and I knew it. But hey ho, that's it was a good thing to do. It took it out of me afterwards.
Yes.
I fell in a hole afterwards.
I remember because you went straight to Edinburgh
afterwards. But you've only got so much adrenaline in your body.
You expended a year's worth in that month and a bit.
But it was a great thing to do. Like, once again, I'm telling you a story. You were there. Anyway, we did. Had to do open remarks, and that was a bit that you had to write.
The opening monologue.
Opening monologue, and like throw to a break. Like I'm talking about you at the start of the show. Like I found we'll be right back after this. I found that really awkward to do.
Yeah.
I couldn't read from an auto cue. Like you could see that I was reading.
That was like live. Like a quarter of the way into the show, you go back on the auto cue. Go back. No, go back. I'm going off script. I'm going off script. But then you had this looseness to you then, and you weren't like confined. You had this,
it was a fun show
And then for the rest of the bugger the auto cue. I'm just gonna riff this. I got an idea of what we're talking about. But then that looseness kind of added to the added to the whole show.
On the first night, he knows this story. On the first night we did it, I was absolutely, the nerves had got the better of me, and Joel was into a little bit of meditation, and so he goes, let's meditate. I would try to meditate, and
we turned off the lights.
Turned off the lights,
and
I'm like, in a bad way. And I looked over you, and you're and I'm like, oh no.
But then you get to the point where you just stood up, I can't do this.
Oh my God. Oh, this is really bad. And then the floor manager comes to me, and he goes, because there was recorded at 7:30. People had to get through traffic, so it was a live audience.
No.
And he goes, there's only 6 people in the audience. And at that moment, I that laugh where you can realize you're taking yourself way too seriously.
Yeah.
I remember he goes, there's 6 people in the audience, and I just went from total, stress, way out of my depth zones to just going, start laughing, and it was the best because,
you didn't let go.
At that moment I went.
Yes.
Sometimes you get to a point where you're just so fried that you have to start laughing.
Yes.
And thank God I got to that moment because, and then so what they do, they get all the people that were working on the show in the audience, and then you go look to the audience, and everybody that was in the audience was people you were working with, and everyone was trying to catch your eye, everyone's hiding in behind, and it really made it funny, and it was just like which is ultimately what you're looking for, is just a laugh.
Sure, and but I remember that it was just like in the middle of the whirlwind on that first episode, and we're walking off, and the producer coming up going, "Jimeoin, great work, man, top work, oh man, we did it," and you and I walk into the dressing room. I close the door behind, and you just turn around and go,
that was
it was just.
It was in your mind a war zone.
Yeah.
But hey ho, it was good to do.
It was great fun. Like we found a groove with it, and with working on the monologues together and shaping all of that, and doing the sketches, and actually.
But doing live TV like that every night, like there's something about that feeling where you go, wow, this is really how you'd like to live your life. That real awareness.
Yeah, and we had all the different guests on there, and. We tried to get Eric Banner, but that didn't work out.
Did we?
You remember we were walking out that night, and the talent booker for the show brought over newspaper and said, look, Eric Bana, he used to open for you, Jimeoin. Why don't you give him a call, ask him to be on the show? And you're like, I don't even have Eric's number anymore. So we left it at that, and we're driving home that night, and you go, oh yeah, would be good to have Eric on the show, but well. And that next morning, I was put the washing on, and there's a cafe below me, and I walk down, I open the back door of the cafe to walk in, I make eye contact with this guy that looks up, it's Eric Bana. You don't remember this?
I do remember this now, yeah.
And I walked in, and I would never normally go up and talk, but I remember I texted you and said, you're never going to believe this. This is like the morning after. I just saw Eric Bana. He's having breakfast.
You're doing the washing?
Yeah, I had the washing going upstairs. And then, I thought, look, if you contact me...
Is he doing his washing?
I was like,
showbiz, eh?
I thought if he contacts me, if you contact me and you want me to, because he's having breakfast with his family at the cafe, right? I'm just going to leave him be. But I never heard back from him. I thought, I'll leave it be. I go back up. My washing was done by then. And then I get your call from you, and you go, are you still with Eric? And I'm like, no, I guess he's in the cafe. That's a shame. That would have been a good way to get him on the show. And then I thought, look, I'll go back down if he's there. I'll ask on your behalf. All right? Yeah, great. So I went back down, opened the door. There he is. And I walk up to him, but everything in me was like, just leave him be, But I thought, no, I'm doing this for Jimeoin. I'm going to do it, right? And I walk up to him, and he's seated like this. I'm standing there, and he's giving me the vibes like out of my peripheral. He knows I'm there. He doesn't want to talk, right? And so everything inside me just sort of walk away. But then I thought, well, it's going to look weird if I just walk up and then turn and walk away. So I leant in to go like, hey, and he goes like that, and recoils back. And I went, oh, hey, sorry, Eric. My name's Joel. I'm a stand-up comic. I'm friends with Jimeoin, and he cuts me off and he goes, say hi to him for me, and turns away.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, I've gone this far. So then I said, look, you're never going to believe this, but Jimeoin's doing a TV show. He was talking about you last night. It'd be great to have you on the show. If I know that you and him, go way back. And he said, I'm on tour at the moment. Say hi to him for me, and turns away. And I went, all right, I'm not going to push the point. Leave it at that. And I go then to walk out the front entrance, but my apartment's at the back entrance where I came in. So I turn around to walk back. Then I thought, no, I don't want to walk by him again. So I walked a long way around Woolworths, all the way back. I go up, I get my washing. Now, the washing clothesline is down in the car park behind the cafe. So is the toilet for the cafe next to the clothesline, right? So I'm out there, I'm literally putting my underpants up on the clothesline, and his son walks out. And I turn to him and I go, oh, hey. And then I turn and look, and there's Eric across the car park, like about 3 meters away. We make eye contact, he pulls out his phone and just walks away. And I thought, oh, this is the worst. And I remember that morning picking you up and telling you the story, and you were dying laughing as we're driving over Harbour Bridge. And I'm like, well, great, this is the only reason this happened is because of you. And you're like, I know, that's why I'm fucking laughing.
Oh, yeah. Suffer.
So we never got Eric on the show.
Yeah.
But
his asshole.
but he opened for you for years. Like,
not for a year, but yeah, like he was at the Star and Garter. He was a stand-up comic, really good stand-up comic, really good at impressions. That was his thing. He was really good. People used to do impressions of me, and they were shit. He could do it, and you're like, ooh, that's really good. That's really good. Right. On other people that you didn't think that they had any characteristics that you could latch onto. Right.
You find those little,
that's really good. That's
that mimicry.
Little small things. I like doing. Like I love impressions. Freaking sucker for them. Really make me laugh.
Yeah. Because I remember you telling me when you did the. It used to be the Burswood Theatre. It's now the Crown in Perth. And it's huge. It's like a barn. That thing. How do you find doing that venue? Because I always feel a disconnect on stage in that venue. That massive one, in Burswood. I remember you saying to Eric before he went on, listen, the audience can feel distant here, so you've got to sort of.
Someone said that to me.
You got to play it.
You got to play it a bit bigger, and then I said it to him, and then we were at the back of the room watching him, and he's doing his act. So, the other, we were absolutely in tears.
And the audience is like, huh?
Yeah, and he's doing this over the top performance. it's really good watching someone before you in the room, because then you get a sense of how the audience are seeing
The lay
it.
of the land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember doing Apollo, and that was a big gig at the time to go on live at the Apollo. But it's on a Monday, and the audience didn't pay in. They get free in.
Right.
And then they did 2 recordings. And looked hard, and so I decided to just go into the room before I went on and watch the guy before me. And I'm looking around going, oh, yeah, they don't give a shit. Oh, they get him for free.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a freaking, oh, no one really cares. But it was such a great way for me to go
have that
back
heads
and then
up.
go around on stage and you go, right, you know, I'm thinking this is the be and end all, but in reality, it's just TV cameras recording, a bunch of people not really giving a shit. So, you know, it was a good gig. But had I not gone and watched that little moment
and discovered that in the moment in front of the cameras, it would have spooked you.
Yeah. Because I really know a room where people don't give a shit, because it really helps you go, oh, I know this room. I've done this.
Yeah, I can
A
handle
million
it.
times.
Yeah.
I had the same thing in Montreal. Went to Montreal and
Was this a Just for Laughs?
just for laughs, and they took you out of Montreal to the suburbs to this pub just to do, and I went, oh, I know these people. And then I go, oh, these are the same people. Oh, yeah, I know these
They're
people.
all over the world.
Yeah. They're all, you know, and it was like an RSL or a Bolo or something like that. And I went, oh, yeah, I know you people. And it just really helped my act.
Sure.
You know, me doing, you know, because you just take all those producers get in your head and you start thinking it's more than what it is, where it's just, you know, a bunch of people trying to have a laugh.
Yeah.
And they want you to have
just focus on
and
connecting
they want
with them.
you to have a
forget
laugh
about-
too.
Yeah.
Anytime anyone told me this is a big thing and this could really help your career, it's never really done that, because I've listened to them and then it's affected me. I've gone,
It psyched you out.
Here I go. I'm gonna. Anytime I just didn't give a fuck, or it was a gig where you didn't really care, it's been, you know, on all the gigs, everything I've ever got has worked. Someone goes, I saw you in an RSL and we thought you'd be. Then you go, wow, that's the way it works.
It's interesting you say that, because I feel that those when you look, you care about giving a good performance for the people that are there, but beyond that, you don't really give a shit. And usually that's when you do your better work, or that's when you're more relaxed or connected with the crowd.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, speaking of music, see, this is the thing with this podcast.
Yeah, before when we were talking about the music,
when you were talking about, I thought that'd be a good lead into your favorite album. But then I thought, no, I want to chat about the full Brazilian. I didn't want to miss out on that. But your favorite album, which is the second Prince album that we've had.
All right, who did the first one?
Sean Shulborough.
Right.
Now the irony is, the 2 albums, the one that he picked and the one that you picked, are regarded. There's a lot of contention of what the best Prince album is.
Oh, Sean likes Prince too.
Yeah, his one was Purple Rain, and your one is none other than...
Yeah, Sign of the Times.
Yeah.
Here it is, yeah. Which is, the one I've got is actually a double album.
Oh, yeah, I think that is a double in there.
It is, there's 2 albums, but it opened up.
Out. You got the deluxe edition.
Yeah. I obsessed. Well, so Purple Rain was Sean's.
Yes.
Parade was a good album. So the reason I got into Prince was Purple Rain came out, and he was at the Brit Awards, and he had a big bouncer behind him, and the British press and the British television mocked him as this idiot, right? And
by having the bouncer?
Having the bouncer, and you know, he won the best album, and the bouncer walked behind him. The bouncer was massive. He was tiny. And you know, and he said, and then everyone was kind of mocking him, laughing, and I went along with that. Freaking guy's an idiot, you know. What a twat that guy is. Yeah. And then I got a gig in Wembley doing security through a mate of mine, and I did the pit. So the very first gig we got was Prince, and I did 6 nights. In the mosh pit.
So right in front.
Right in front.
Wow.
For the parade, which was Kiss.
Yeah.
Mountains and Rivers, and you know, first night I went, oh, that idiot, and then I turned around and I watched it, and I was like, wow, this guy, you know, and there was like it was he had purple. Purple was the theme, and he
Right.
had purple tambourines, and the smoke, and it was all purple. And he just was maybe I think he was about 25 at the time, and I just couldn't believe how good he was and how good a dancer he was and how free and how loose he was. Like it was really going for it, really enjoying himself. Like I remember seeing George Michael working through. I remember seeing everybody thinking no one's as good as him.
Right.
Like I saw Peter Gabriel, David Bowie, right, George Michael. None of them could dance. None of them could. Like he could
He
dance.
had it all.
He had it, and then and he could mess for the crowd. And then the first night I was like, oh wow. And then the second night, someone said to me, he does the sound check and he plays all the instruments. So I got there at 5. We got him backstage. You had to wear a shirt with the name of the company on it. And he walked right by me and, looked at me and I thought, well, this is supposedly this guy that's totally removed up himself, right beside me. And, then he went on stage. So someone said to me, oh, he plays all the instruments in the sound check. So he goes up to the guitar and he starts messing around the guitar. And someone shouts out, play, play Raspberry Beret, and he would just start playing it, and then he'd go over to the saxophone, and the people were shouting out, and he was just chatting to people, played every instrument.
Yeah.
And then he did the show again, and then the show was just amazing. And then there was bits of the show that I knew were coming up, so I would line myself to be right in front of him, like there.
Yeah.
Do you remember that dance? Remember that they did that? Remember that there? That dance there? Well, that was the first time I ever saw that. But he got about 7 people behind him, and they all lined up, and then he just came and sliding, and then went and then everyone went the opposite way.
Nice.
And then he was at the front doing it, and it looked like that, that Indian goddess thing where they all had their hands up, and he's just gone. And then he would bounce from the stage onto the piano, up, bang, like doing the splits. Really giving it everything, with this really...
Putting on a show.
But really light, purpley sort of... Oh, my God, and then I was hypnotised, that was it.
So you saw this show 6 nights in a row?
6 nights in a row, yeah.
And you were converted?
I was just... That was like a Jesus experience. I was really, totally obsessed with Prince, so I bought all the stuff beforehand. And then I waited for this to come out, and this came out, and I just put it on. Just listened to it, non-stop. And there was a tour, so I bought 8 tickets.
Oh, each night you went to see?
No, I bought 8 tickets to go with everyone. I wanted
to
classic Jesus thing. I wanted to convert my friends.
Yes.
You got to see Prince.
Yeah.
And freaking Prince, and he cancelled. He cancelled the freaking thing, so I had to get my money back. But on the night of the first, concert, I had a party. Peach and pink, which is the 2 colours, even though there's a little bit of purple. It was a peach and pink party, that was it.
Yeah.
And I was really struggling to find peach as a colour, like I was just, and pink. And then I was on this building site, and there was those big sheets of plastic, those big rolls.
Yeah, sure.
And I went to a hardware shop, and you could get them in these different colours, and I got peach and pink of these big rolls, and just stringed them on the wall. And I had a party just playing this album in the house. Annoying people. Just take something else on. No, we're listening to this. So, and it was probably the last album that I really listened to inside out. Like now, you just don't hear an album in
its entirety.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was probably the last album that I listened to inside out. And even now, if I hear a song, I can sort of have that nostalgic feeling of that time living in London. I was working on a building site, but just all those emotions, takes
you back.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was a really different sound than any other album that I'd heard before. He had that electronic drum thing.
There's some. It's interesting in listening to it again. Like it's got remember the Art of Noise?
Yeah,
And hearing the influence in there with that kind of synth, kind of slashing synth sound. You know, it's in a couple of the songs on that. I kind of took. I hadn't listened to them since forever, but I was like, oh yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, and he'd have just like Sign of the Times, that first track. That's kind of really, really basic. There's not a lot in that. Just
but lyrically too, it's like the communication of just all this sort of debauchery, drug taking, and it's.
And then the cross, which is kind of this real religious. Just two chords, E and A, and then he just plays it once, and then he goes the second time, plays the whole thing again, same chords, but full on heavy. And I was like, oh, that's kind of really different. And then there was loads of, as there is with a lot of Prince's stuff, where you listen to it and you don't get it first time, but then after a while it really hooks you. Gets a hook into you.
Yep.
But
which is some of the best music I find. Like we're out of the gates, it's like there's something here, but then then it reveals itself to you.
All of those ones, the first time I listened to this album, and then it really hooked into me. There's some songs I've never really got. Playing in the Sunshine. Housequake. That was really
Housequake. Yeah.
Slow Love was a song I ended up writing a joke about because I do a song called Quick Love. That's just but that came from Slow Love.
Right.
That came from that actual song, Slow Love.
You just came at it from the different angle.
Yeah, just the opposite. Quick Love. Hot Thing for Everyone. Yeah, just really interesting, like sounds that you'd never really heard before.
And the thing is, certain tracks do have a very 80s feel, but it's totally still relevant.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of music today going back to that 80s sound as well, and it's like, well, this album could come out today and still be as relevant.
I don't know. I was trying to get my son to listen to Prince, and he was like, "I'm not getting this."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But then, did he listen to it again? Maybe it was that thing where you got to listen to it again, and then, like we were saying, it reveals itself.
Yeah, but sometimes with albums, like I remember that Counting Crows album, and
August and everything.
The songs that were released as singles, they were my least.
No, the other ones, Raining in Baltimore.
Those are the ones I liked.
Yeah. That's a great. I saw them. Because John, our mutual friend, amazing Jonathan, we used to listen to Counting Crows all the time in the garage back in LA at his place. And
but the hits weren't for me.
No, like Mr. Jones and Round Here and stuff. No, it was the other songs on that album that were Raining and The Circus is Falling Down.
But I thought that was the other Prince album, Parade. Like Kiss was my least favorite song.
Right, yeah.
Still is.
Yeah.
Like Mountains and Rivers, that's just way better to me. Need Another Lover Like You Need a Hole in Your Head. Those are great tracks.
You know what?
Delamitri, that's another band. They had that Shoe song, I just thought was the weakest song on the album.
But that's what was a great thing about albums back in the day, because you would hear you would buy an album, but usually a lot of the times the song that led you into the album, or the song that was to the wayside, and it was all these other hidden gems. But I don't know, does that happen today as much? Because how with Spotify, people listening.
I'm contradicting myself. I said this was the last album. I mentioned a couple of albums like Counting Crows. That was way later than this. That I'd give a good flogging.
You know what?
We used to have that album Rumours. Remember Fleetwood Mac?
Yeah, sure.
And a mate of mine said you played it. We played it so much in our house that you could hear the other track going backwards on the other side. Which is
sunk that deep.
You could hear it going backwards on the other side.
But speaking of our mutual friend, the amazing Jonathan, that's how I met you initially. Anyway, when I was a teenager.
How old were you? 17 or something?
Yeah. I was just a young'un. But
look at that. Look at that.
Classic.
I don't know how to do this for television.
To the camera. Prince sitting down there.
Yeah, Prince, you get a new album out. So how you doing?
But Prince reached out to Jonathan and had seen him on TV and said, come to Paisley Park, let's hang out. you know. And Jonathan was like, yeah, well, I'm going to be uncomfortable, you know, just hanging out at his house, but he eventually came and saw Jonathan's show in Vegas.
Right.
And Erica,
were you there at the time?
No, Erica, my wife, who wasn't my wife then, but she was working for Jonathan at the time, and they called up beforehand and spoke with Erica, and the minder for Prince said, look, when Prince turns up, he's only going to talk to you. He's not going to talk to anyone else there. And you know, if you can show him to where he's going to be seated, and you know, watch the show. And so he turned up, and Erica, you know, just spoke to him. Apparently, he was very pleasant. Came in and watched the show, but apparently got offended and left early.
Yeah.
Because I think he was like not a born again Christian, Jehovah's Witness, or
he used to door knock to people.
Really?
Yeah, like, which I always thought would be kind of weird.
Yeah, open your door, Prince. Oh. Yeah. But
clear off. No, come on, man.
But I remember Jonathan saying after, he goes, he's offended. Have you read these lyrics?
Yeah.
You know, come on.
Yeah, he was knee deep.
Yeah, but guys like that, they're a rarity. You know, like of that caliber. Like you see, like you're saying, his musicianship was off the Richter, but his writing was great, and also he was an entertainer too. He knew how to entertain an audience. Like,
that was the thing more than anything. Was the thing that I was like, wow, you know, like that thing where you see someone loose and on stage.
Yes.
He just
and in their element.
He was enjoying. That was where he looked so comfortable. He was at his ease and dancing like I've never seen anyone dance like that.
Yeah.
And do everything.
And the last tour that he had out, because the interesting thing was I loved hearing, like, going to venues and, you know, Prince was here, you know, like there was a thing out at Kudos. Once I was talking to the manager there, and they were telling me all about his backstage kind of stuff and how he got out there onto, because he was doing it in the round, and he'd be in a road case, hidden in a road case, and they'd wheel the road case through the audience and hit it up against the thing and tap on it. A little door would flap, and he'd crawl on all fours out of the road case underneath into the stage in the middle of the arena, and then shoot out of the stage for the beginning of the show. And like at the Eden's Hill, you know, up in Brisbane, there's a venue up there, and how he went there for the after party, and they had $100 grand in a suitcase waiting for him. He goes, his band's already there, the limo turns up, he walks up there, does his set, walks straight off stage, they hand him that into the lift, down into the limo, back to his hotel room.
What about his Super Bowl performance?
Oh yeah, and when it starts raining.
That kind of thing, that's what you were watching.
Yeah.
He was playing that live, that was kind of...
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then his final tour that he ever did in Australia at he did the State Theatre.
And New Zealand too, yeah, that's just before...
Yeah, but hearing like the tech guys at the State that saying, unbelievable. Just him by himself with a grand piano, you know, and just killing it. You know? Just like his piano playing was incredible.
And he was another victim of that opioid pandemic in America.
Yeah.
They made the film about dope sick.
Yes.
What's it called?
They produce Oxycontin.
Oxycontin.
Well, that's the problem. He thought he was, because he had all these prescriptions for Oxy, and, you know, he was addicted to it. It's an addictive drug. Yeah. And he ended up buying it off the black market, thinking it was Oxycontin, when, like, so many people have died this way. It's the stamp on it is Oxycontin, but it's actually fentanyl.
Oh, wow.
And it's the same with Tom Petty.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was one of those music star deaths that really just go, you know, he was a big influence, big thing in my life.
Sure. It's so sad, you know, just slumped by the lift in his house.
And he was such a clean living guy too.
Right.
He was he didn't drink, didn't do anything. Quite, you know.
The power of opioids.
Human being.
Yeah, it is.
Have you got any?
Well, when I was back in San Francisco earlier this year, just seeing it on the streets, like you see that slumped over, where they just stand in
on
a
the
slump. But they're not moving, they're like these frozen statues. But seeing that as I'm driving into town in the Uber to the hotel, I'm just going, I'd seen on TV.
So it's still an issue, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's confronting. Like, and the homelessness, like across the board, and you just see people like standing near a tent just like that. It's like, it's a good deterrent to witness that.
You'd have been in a low place. But he was tricked into it. Like, that was...
Yeah, he didn't
realize
he was.
doctor.
Yeah. Well, speaking of deaths, let's move on to your favourite film.
The Dead Zone.
Yes, Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
It's a rarity to see such a great adaptation of a Stephen King novel into a film. Usually it goes south a bit, with Stephen King film adaptations. But with this one, it's fantastic.
Yeah, like Shawshank Redemption was good, but that was a short story, wasn't it?
Yeah, same with The Body that they made Stand By Me out of.
Right.
But that was a short, novella, short story.
Yeah,
but
I'm not fully aware of his Stephen King's work and the horror things that he's done, but I just saw that movie, and sometimes you see a movie that you don't really. I watched it on video in Australia, and I didn't see it when it was a cinematic release, and I didn't know anything about it. And you turn something on. You don't know where it's going, and you always do that first bit where you sit down and okay.
So what was it about? What was it like? You saw the cover with Christopher Walken on it and thought, oh yeah, this will be interesting.
I think Bob Franklin might have mentioned it to me.
Okay.
Watch that. There was a video store. You'd walk really slowly and really try and, because you're committing your night to this.
Yeah, I used to love doing that at a video store. Go and you look at the titles, you read the back cover.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got that director.
And there was an action section and a thriller section.
Yeah, drama section, comedy
and then
section.
Bob had seen it and he goes, give that a go. I remember sitting there that night and just, without spoiler alert, but that moment where Christopher Walken grabs the nurse and he's
had that vision.
That vision, and he's in another room. And you're
watching the child in the burning room.
Yeah. And then he turns to the
nurse's child.
Yeah. And so he can see her bedroom that her child is in, burning. And he's in the room with the child, and then turns to her, and he's back there. Go get home. Your house is on fire. Yeah. Like, that moment to me was, oh wow, I'm really watching a film. This has really got me. And then you're enveloped within the whole story. And I think I'd seen The Deer Hunter beforehand.
With Christopher Walken and De Niro,
I can't really do a Christopher Walken. Walker. I could try and do it.
Go on, give it a go.
I could do the worst Christopher Walken.
Okay, go.
I've been trying to do the Foo Fighter. Ladies and gentlemen, Foo Fighters.
I need that one little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, Foo Fighters.
That's what I'm telling you. I'm a sucker for impressions. So I can do you after trial. I'll do that. Do it again. Go on, do it again.
Ladies and gentlemen, Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters.
When I was doing the podcast,
I can't do it. I can do the worst Trump.
Okay, do it.
China. I know. That's got to be the worst Trump, isn't it? I can do the worst.
Because I'm just watching that, I'm just thinking it's Jimeoin doing Trump. Wait, have you got any impressions that you can do that are spot on?
I do this thing in my act now about Russell Crowe, and somebody freaking told him I did it, so he's probably not happy. It's about him being in the toilet. It's a whole made-up story, but I do an impression of him from Gladiator. Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I shall have my vengeance in this world or the next.
That's good. That's not bad. Yeah.
You got that rusky voice.
Yeah, that deep.
Yeah, I love it. I love it when you see something about it. You go, oh yeah, I couldn't see that, and then you try and do it on your own. I was on the plane today. Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters. Because your guy David Grohl, who's a freaking hilarious guy, very funny. The guy from the Foo Fighters.
Nirvana.
So
drummer,
he was on Saturday Night Live twice, and then there's a little clip of him doing Christopher Walken.
Oh, okay, him impersonating. Oh, right, okay.
So they were on Saturday Night Live twice, and both times Christopher Walken is the host.
It's the host.
The both.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, Foo Fighters.
He's got a great sense of humour.
Isn't he? Isn't he really fun?
Yeah.
Oh, but no, David Grohl too.
Grohl, yeah.
He could have been a stand-up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird when you watch guys in bands that are just killer. Last week, Erica and I went and saw Harry Connick Jr. and he slays, kills on stage, just riffing, and something will happen in the audience and he'll just start riffing, doing crowd work, and it's just like, this guy's like a
Robbie
stand-up.
Williams could have been a stand. His dad was a stand-up.
Oh, really? Your mate Colin Hay, he kills on stage.
Yeah, he can tell a good yarn.
Yeah, great storyteller.
Yeah, he loves comedy. Like that's what I was saying to you before. So many musicians enjoy comedy.
And so many comics want to be musicians. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Bono, and Bono always wanted to be a statesman more than a musician, and Bob Geldof wanted to be a musician more than a statesman.
Getting back to the Dead Zone.
Bono and the Edge, Bono and the Edge walk into a pub in Dublin, and the barman goes, "Not you two again." I always got to tell jokes. I don't know why.
The one scene in Dead Zone that always stood out for me is when you said Dead Zone favorite film, the scene that always stood out for me was the kids playing ice hockey on the lake and breaking through the ice and all drowning.
Yes.
And going down. And my brother used to play ice hockey when I was a kid, so I was always thinking, oh my God, what's below the ice? You know. It was
yeah. But he told the father beforehand not to take him,
and the father wouldn't listen.
And then he got the stick and smashed it. And there's so much. Like I don't want to ruin the film for people, but the bit where the journalist tries to take the piss out of him.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can just touch people, and you can touch me now. I don't touch me. Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
What about your sister committing suicide? What about the guy's going, "Keep freaking hands off me!" And like he just went, "Wow, that's just amazing."
Yeah.
And then they're all chapters. They all go different chapters. So you move on from that chapter. You move on, and then just it's one of those films that just really. Grabbed me. Like that's David Cronenberg. So we were in I was at Cannes Film Festival, and I didn't really know. Like I watched that film, I didn't really know who the director was. It's only later in life I've started to become aware. Oh, I like that guy.
Yeah, I like.
Oh
his
yeah,
filmmaking.
I've seen that. So I went and saw that film, The History of Violence.
Yes.
We went to the premiere of it.
Yes.
It was good. My friend Bruno had a tie on. You had to have a bow tie on, and the guy goes, "You can't come in." He goes, he was trying to tell the guy the brand of the tie. Getting in, gotta go and buy a dicky bow.
Yeah,
he said David Cronenberg. That film. As a director, I just thought, oh, that's an amazing film. It's just. And Martin Sheen.
Yes. But we don't want to give the ending away, but it's a great ending to Dead Zone. Just the way it all ties. But when you got someone like Stephen King, pulling the strings story-wise behind the scenes, it's like it's going to be a great payoff.
Any film that has a good end, even if it's shit the whole way through, if the end is good, you go, that's good. But that was really good, and then wow, and you go,
the little turnaround.
Freaking hell, this is so good.
Yes, and it's one of those films when you think like. Yeah, it couldn't have ended any other way. Like it wouldn't have been satisfying any other way than that ending, because
But more than the ending, it was those moments within the film that give you the shivers and
great commentary in it, like great social commentary and political commentary throughout that film as well. I felt.
In what way?
Well, just like politically, like politicians that ascend and their true personality, but they're seen, but then when they're exposed, it's and the whole story of lost love, and
what's her name, the actress?
She was good.
She's a big actress.
But the scene, the scene with the journalists, like great commentary on journalism, and like they don't want the truth. They want it's these underlining little sort of little messages that I found from it, the journalist. If the journalist gets the truth, it's too confronting, or people get the truth, it's too confronting.
I can't remember the girl's name, but if I pretended to say it, could you dub it in later? Oh yeah,
Mr. Black.
I can never remember anyone's name now. And
Yeah,
then I just go into that zone where I go, why is that,
Have you
annoying
always
me?
been like that? But you,
Yeah.
but you've got a whole routine about it, which I related to so much. When someone tells you their name at a party or something,
Yeah.
it's gone. Yeah, that routine that you.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's you.
But I still do that, to this day, but if I do a gig, I'll go, as soon as I go in, I go, right, sound, who's doing sound? Right, what's your name? Who's doing that? Right, then I go, right, and that's only 3 names I've got to remember tonight.
And do you remember them?
Yeah,
You do.
I
Do you do association or?
No, I just go, right.
Focus.
Yeah, but someone goes, oh, have you met such and, yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah.
But such a good trait if you can remember people's names.
Yes, it is. It is.
I think people love it. And I love it too. If you meet someone, they say your name again. Oh,
Yeah, or they just put it into conversation. So tell me, Jimeoin, how
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it? It's. But sometimes when I sense when people do it, and you go, you're doing that technique.
Yeah.
There's something in business. It's like the technique to drop their name in like every so often. But when I hear it, my name repeated to me too many times, I'm like, oh, you're doing that technique.
I saw a guy, and they got his phone out, and they go, so how's Catherine getting on? I've done that. I've got loads of people where I've got their name and the wife's name.
Yeah. It's well, and that's nice. It shows you making effort at least.
Yeah, because you know that you're just. But then you get a night out. You ever go out and you just remember everyone's name that you met that night?
Yeah, I have had that.
And then you meet them like a couple of days later, and you go, "Hey, Frankie," and they're like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
And I go, "I don't know. For some reason, I just didn't feel the angst of the
having
angst."
to
remember.
Yeah.
It's the pressure of thinking, because often I'm not listening to the name. I'm thinking, "Hope I remember this."
Yeah.
So there, you're not even listening. You're already going, "I hope I remember this."
And they're already 3 lines into the conversation, and you're, What about faces? Are you good with faces?
Yeah, apparently, of course. But then there's a time you go, well, why do I know you from somewhere? Yeah, that can be. So I found that a weird expression to say you're good with faces. But then I realised some people do actually suffer from facial. Dr. Carl.
Remember he was on the show, on the Full Brazilian.
Yeah. He really struggles. He just even people like someone was saying the makeup artist, and he goes, "Have we met before?" Yeah, every night. Okay, sorry.
I was just reminded myself then of because could listen in sometimes on the director on the Full Brazilian with the calling the different because it was a multicam shoot, and Dr. Carl had leant forward into this thing. And he says, all right, ready on camera 3, go to Dr. Carl. And just as the camera went, he leant back like this and out of the shot. And I can hear it, Dr. Carl, he's fucked the shot. He's fucked it. Go to the wide shot. Go to the wide. He's fucked it.
Control rooms.
Yeah. Just
hilarious.
Back in the control room. Well, the third of this trilogy of favourites that we have is your favourite book. Which I couldn't get in time for this podcast.
Yeah.
But I've looked it up. It looks like a fascinating read. Mary Manning's Striking Out.
Strikes Back.
Strikes
Back. I think.
That's Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, Strikes. I don't know. It might be. We can Google it. But yeah, that's a book that's hard to get.
Yeah.
I became aware of that through a Christy Moore song that he was singing about, Mary Manning. Anyway, the story is she worked in a supermarket, Dunn's store in Ireland, and she was advised by the union, if anyone comes in and buys any fruit from South Africa, and we've got grapefruits from South Africa.
Now this was during the 80s,
during
apartheid.
Maybe 81 or something, like early, So anyway, I probably should set the scene a bit better. Early 80s, apartheid. Nelson Mandela was in prison. He had been in prison for a long time, maybe about 20 years at this stage. Nobody really knew about him. There was no song, Free Nelson Mandela. There was no movement.
So he was suffering in silence.
He was suffering in silence, and he had been for a long time. And this union for supermarket workers, instructed them not to sell anything that came from South Africa. And she was the girl that just happened to be there on that morning when those 2 grapefruit, this lady came up with 2 grapefruit, and she goes, "I'm sorry, I can't sell you that."
They were from South Africa.
South Africa.
Yeah.
But all the heads of the Dunnes Stores supermarkets were all there waiting because they knew this was happening. And she stepped back and said, "I'm sorry, I can't sell you that." And the boss went, "You're fired." And she was fired there on the spot. And then 7 other workers just said, we're with her and we're being instructed by our union not to sell anything. So they went on strike. They didn't even know what the word apartheid meant. They had no idea.
Right.
Mary Manning was probably straight out of school,
So
very young, maybe 17, 18.
Right.
And she did exactly what the union had advised her to do. And then during the summer period, they decided to pick it out the front because the union kind of said, well, if you're going to fire us, we'll stand out the front of the shop.
Right.
So there were just 7 people standing outside one Dunnes store. They didn't even know what part it was. And then this black guy came and joined them. And he was from South Africa. And he had actually shared a cell with Mandela. Wow. And the people of South Africa, the ANC, thought he was dead, but he'd moved to Ireland, got asylum,
right,
and living a quiet life in Ireland, joined him and described South Africa as a pint of Guinness. The whites ruled the top of it, and the blacks were just being held underneath.
It's a great example.
And, yeah, it was a great example.
Yeah.
And then they would talk to them, and he would go, "Oh," and then they could kind of get into it.
So he kind of educated them on what this was all about, right? And
then the head of the union would come down to meet them, and he would move away. Like, he'd always move away, going, "Yeah, there's a bigger thing going on here." And then another group of people come down and go, "All right, politicians," and he would always move away from the politicians and just go about his thing, joining them quietly.
Right. So he didn't want to be a figurehead in this whole...
But then within a very short period, the union said, "All right, we need to step down from this," because they were being influenced by other parties. That's exactly why this guy moved away.
Right,
he goes, "You're going to get crushed here." So they said, "No, you need to go back to work." And
so the union even backed down.
And then they went, "No, but we really do feel that this is a good cause now. We understand what's going on." And then the Catholic Church had real influences. South Africa had real influences on the Catholic Church, and through them they were sending nuns to the supermarket, and the nuns were picking on them. And then some of these girls were from, they were illegitimate children, and they had another bone to pick. So there's layers going on with but the powers that tried to stop them doing what they did, and they stuck with it, and then they became this thing where it became an embarrassment to the Irish government because
it created like a movement.
They just wouldn't go away, and they were just there. So it went on for a couple of years. This whole thing of them just not backing down, and then they had to surrender to it. They had to give in, and and that was the first country to have a ban on South African goods.
Really?
So that was the start.
And it all started from these women.
And it all started with 2 grapefruit. Yeah. And it all started with these bunch of 7 women that, and it was, the thing that really got me about that book was the price of protest, because the story of the black guy that joined him at the end during apartheid, she went through a lot. Mary went through a lot. Her marriage broke up. She went to Australia as a backpacker, lived here. When she lived here, Mandela got released and got became
during that time,
president. And she was invited to the inauguration, and she was living in a flat in Bondi or whatever it was with a bunch of other people, And they were going, why are you being invited? Because she would never tell anyone because...
Oh, really? She kept this all under...
Well, because it was a bad outcome for them. They were ostracized. They were like, they lost their jobs. They were disruptive. They couldn't get another job in Ireland. They were considered... And that was the thing that really got the black guy and her met up years later, and his life, he was impoverished. She had been impoverished. But he said, that's the price of protest.
Yes.
That's the thing. You know, you're not going to protest, win, and stand victorious. We stood up to this. You're going to protest, and you're going to suffer the consequences. But that is, imagine that, like, you've done all that, but you don't want to tell anyone about it because it's been an or not an embarrassment. It wasn't
it's like a stain on
you've done this thing, and then and then she's getting on with her life that's been mucked up as a result of it. You know, the Catholic Church turned on them. Her mother was going, you've got to stop this now. She fell out with her family, and her marriage broke up, and she moved to Australia. Or, I don't know if she was married. I think it might have been in a relationship. Anyway, only then, when she went to the inauguration, and she met Mandela, and he goes, you gave me, like, you know, a little bit of faith that there was a bunch of people in Ireland
that cared.
Like, we were in the quiet, and it was only... That was the thing that broke the wall. I was like, oh wow, that's an amazing story to think you went through all of that, and then you didn't know that he actually knew through this black guy, Nimroy, I think his name was. Don't quote me on anything ever. that you know, you've had an influence. That was, you know, the thing that broke the back, you know, the straw that broke the camel's back. That started the wave where there was a song released, everyone could see the injustice, but there was a time, and that was a good 20 odd years, where that guy
swept under the carpet,
silently suffering like a clear injustice, and you know, really poignant to this day. Like the thing still goes on, where, you know, like lots of people, you go, wow, that's.
But it's interesting you say that, where she, you know, put her life to the side in order to forward this.
Which I've never done. I've never done that personally, and I always know. And I like sometimes you harping on your opinion, but then that's all it is. I would never go and do that.
To that extent.
Never go and, you know, just like that needs commitment.
I remember seeing an interview with John Lennon about that, and the journalist said, you know, when he was going for the peace around the world, and make love, not war. And she, the journalist said, don't you realize what a fool you look like doing this?
Yeah.
And his answer was, it's not about me.
Yeah.
This is something bigger, you know?
Yeah. That was, they were committed people. When you meet people that are committed, and you realize I'm not, like, I just feel, that's...
But there is a but there is a fine line there, because I know that you've read this book too, Brando's Songs My Mother Taught Me.
Yes.
And how he got behind, you know, the civil rights movement, the you know, starving children in India, the Native American movement. He really put his effort and time into that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until later in life that he realized, hang on, I have a family here.
Yeah.
I have a wife. I got kids. I'm neglecting them in order to go and do this.
Yeah.
And he just thought...
But also as a comedian, I think my job is to keep it light and fluffy.
Right, yeah. You don't want to turn it into some speech or some lecture.
Every comedian has a strong opinion on whatever, an injustice, a sense of injustice, but you just think, well, maybe that's someone else's job.
But you got that great, I just love that routine that you do about all these younger comics that are getting up wanting to tell you about their opinions. The thought, I feel weird reciting your bit to you, but the payoff on that is just...
That's my opinion.
Yeah, and that bit is brilliant. And I remember watching it going, that's such a great way of dissecting the whole.
I have to be honest
scenario.
about there's loads of topics that people talk about that I just cannot get into, like Harry and Meghan. Like anytime that comes up in the paper, I can't get rid of that.
No, this is fodder. Who cares?
Yeah, but Brexit, the other one.
Yeah,
you know, there's things that you just
flick through.
You know, in the Middle East, I can't even look at that. That's, whoa.
Well,
But then that's where I think you go, am I silent to this, or I am a witness to this, but is my silence kind of, but then again, you just can't get.
Yeah, there's, well, like
I got really like obsessed with the environment, where it really overtook like my brain, where I was thinking about it a lot and quite obsessed, and you know, it's quite obvious that, and it doesn't take much for your brain to go off keel. It's a slippery slope.
Sure. Well,
And then I just realised that I was just, you know, harping on about something that, you know, it's much easier just sticking your head in the sand.
But I think the important thing too, and I said that to our friend Akmal, who gets obsessed about certain things going on around the world, that if you focus on what can I do in my immediate world to make this a better place, how do the people in my immediate world, do I affect them? What contribution am I making with them? And if everyone thought that in the world, game changer.
Yeah.
You know?
But I see like world news, and I go, whoa, I get really upset about it. Going, what, are we still doing this?
I know, it's
in
disappointing,
2023?
right? Yeah.
Are we still doing the same shit that, you know? And then you go,
just revolving.
Yeah, and all those other big things that are really important now I have to take, you know, a back step because this is going on. And
but it's history. It's learning from history too.
But
it's
no, that expression. The one thing we've learned is we haven't learned one thing.
Yes.
From history.
Yeah, and like the quote at the end of the First World War: "This is the war to end all wars." Well, like less than 20 years later, suddenly there's a Second World War. It's like, come on.
That again.
Yeah.
But it's always fuckwits are getting control. That's the bit that.
Which gets back to the dead zone. You know, great commentary, political commentary in that, where you got this guy potentially who's going to end the world. You know,
I remember there was a time where I was going through that thought process just on my own. Where going, this is so stupid a job I do. What's the point in this? It's just ridiculous. And then there was this program on TV that I just happened to watch about the fall of the wall and the things that led to the collapse of a regime. And in Poland, which was a satellite part of the United States of Russia, they had a satire, a TV show that was satirical. And when people saw that they could laugh about this and get away with laughing about it, then that was the thing that sort of triggered. And there was no, you couldn't have a political protest. So what they did is they would set up in front of the government buildings sand pits, and they would go and play in sand, saying, "You're going to treat us like children. We're going to behave like children."
Yeah.
And they couldn't do anything because they had no placards, and they were using comedy as a way of resistance, a method of resistance. Which to me, I've heard about Gandhi, which is, you know,
peaceful resistance.
Peaceful resistance. But I've never heard that as a way of resisting something. Take the piss, you know, and that was the thing that broke. Poland became the first one to break away. That led into them creating solidarity movement with the unions. And you know, was the first cracks in the wall and in the Iron Curtain, and that really lifted me. I went, oh yeah, I think what I'm doing is probably worthy in its own way.
It's true. Just as you were saying,
you don't need to protest and get angry, but you just need to keep doing what you're doing and say, you know, I'm gonna smile through this.
But just as you were saying that, this quote, I haven't thought of this in ages. A great theatre director, Harold Kluman, he said, "The truth is like castor oil. You got to get them laughing, and when their mouths are open, you pour a little in."
Never liked castor oil.
But you grew up like with the IRA and
drinking castor oil
in Northern Ireland.
Mum used to line us up to drink a spin of it.
Oh, really? But you grew up like under stressful conditions, you know, coming up.
And I that's probably why I avoided politics and I never really liked politics. And I couldn't understand when I went to England and there would be people talking about politics, and I just go, "What? Freaking walk away! This is the worst conversation you could possibly have." I still have that feeling today. If anyone lights up about the Liberal Party, the Liberal Party. I'm like, I'm gone.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of the times too, we only get that much information, a small amount of really what's going on behind closed doors, right? So people get so passionate over being so ill-informed as well, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, there's people that want to fight, and there's people that want to fight the people that want to fight, and I'm just not part of either of those groups.
Yeah.
Like,
Have a healthy detachment from that.
But then you think, well, these nasty people keep rising to the top because of people like me that just let them get away with it. But then, as I said, watching that show, I went, oh yeah,
you do play a part.
I'm doing my thing. This is all I can do. I can try and have a laugh, and you know, not curtail to hatred or any of those things that sort of, you know,
but out
push that further down the line.
Out of those like horrible, horrific situations, there's comedy to be found as well. I remember you telling the story about the guy that tried to blow up the pub. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, there's loads of those stories.
The guy that walked in with the bomb.
Oh, it was a shop.
Oh, was it a shop?
It was a guy's shop, and he put a bomb on the counter and shut everyone out. And the guy behind the shop counter grabbed the bomb and took it out on the street, and it went off on the street. And then the following week, the same guy came in, put the bomb on the counter with a hammer and nails in his teeth, and just hammered the bomb to the guy's bench.
Right, everyone out.
Everyone out, yeah. I don't know, I can laugh about it, but you wouldn't be laughing if it was your pub or your
shop. Sure. But like, that's just such a, like, it's hilarious, just such a, right.
There's another story, there's loads of those stories that do make me laugh. See, look, right, here's a story. I was at Dublin recently, and this guy was in a pub, and this guy goes, "Jam on, friggin' jam on," and he's going, "Friggin' jam on," and then I was over chatting to them, and how you going? They're like in their late 60s, and where are you from? Belfast, from Belfast. And I said, it's great now, Belfast. Have you ever been to the Cromwell prison, the guided tour? You got to go there, you got to see that. And they all, and I said, what? He goes, we're all ex-prisoners. And I go, what prison were you in? All of them. I did 25, he did 25, he did 20 in a prison in England, he did 16. And so they'd done 90 odd years between them. I said, when did you go in? I got interned at 15 for 2 years where they could pick you up and you didn't have to have any sort of charge. They just could pick you up without charging you. Back then they had this thing called internment. They're like, he knows what internment is. He grew up in Northern Ireland. I'm just telling him that all. You know, and I never asked them what they did, but they all got out in a Good Friday Agreement, and they lived in an area where they had committed to that cause, and they'd just spent their life in prison, really.
Right.
And you're like, whew.
Well, yeah. Well, thank God they recognised you and liked you.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't want to be on the other end of that.
No, I would have known if it was. Yeah, they knew who I was. It was all fine.
So you're heading back to the UK soon? Doing
in February.
February, doing more shows.
Yeah, February, and I'm doing the East Coast in January with Mario, my son, and
Mario's going with you,
and 4 of his mates.
Really?
So there's 7
boys.
of us. Yeah, 7 of us.
Literally the boys on
19-year-olds. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. That'll be a great way for them to.
We're going to maybe do a podcast. We're going to film, or like do something. I don't know, just to
document it.
Yeah, just to document it. But hopefully it all goes well too. And I got Mario Senior, my father-in-law.
Oh, is he coming too?
Yeah, he's driving because I've lost my license.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'll be great. Fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. And then he's also there to remind me that I'm not their age.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be thinking I'm 19 again.
Oh, that'll be great, mate. Well, thank you for doing this.
No problem.
It's always great to catch up with you and have a yarn. And
it's warm in here now, isn't it?
It is. It's got really warm. Before I was like, should I turn on the aircon? No, it's fine.
It's fine, but no.
Under the lights.
Anymore. Yeah, that's it. It's the lights. That's what it is. No, it's been an absolute pleasure. I enjoyed it, and have a good Christmas.
Yeah, you too, mate.
And a happy New Year.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.